After 24 years, something inside me broke when my husband said, "What if I don't like who I am with my walls down?" Now, I feel void of desire and disconnected. How do I fix us when he equates swinging with love? Can I rebuild our bond before it's too late? Throwaway account, on mobile, so I apologize for the formatting and typographical errors, and if some parts do not make sense. It is late, and I am tired. A summary is at the bottom, as this is a long post, I apologize for that. I do not even know where to begin. My husband, 44 years old, and I, 41 years old, have been together for nearly 24 years. Throughout that time, we have experienced our ups and downs, but for the most part, especially during the last few years, we have committed to being our best selves for each other and focusing on self-improvement and our relationship. Things have been better than they have been in a long time. Some potentially helpful context and history. I will try to be as objective as possible. We both have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. He has been diagnosed with inattentive type, whereas I have combined hyperactive and inattentive type. We present very differently. I also believe I have high-functioning autism, although I do not have an official diagnosis for that. We both have a history of anxiety, and I have a history of depression and premenstrual dysphoric disorder. I am also currently perimenopausal. We have had an open relationship and have been active in the swinging lifestyle. This was my husband's suggestion, as it is a significant turn-on for him, and I was more than happy to support him in this and take an active role in what we did. When we are actively swinging, our relationship is as solid as it ever is, and it is remarkable because I get to see my husband at his best. We understand that, to keep things running smoothly, we must actively stay connected, communicate well, and essentially be on our best behavior. He has great difficulty being vulnerable, especially regarding sex. Communication is not his strong suit. He struggles with rejection sensitivity dysphoria as part of his attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and has poor emotional regulation. I have trouble regulating my emotions as well. We have both individually and jointly seen psychologists in the past. However, due to negative experiences, he flat out refuses to see one now and has prohibited me from suggesting that he or we see one again. About 3 years ago, I experienced a major negative life event that triggered some stress-related issues, leading to a situation that has snowballed to where I am now. I am barely coping, life feels much harder than it should be, and I am trying to do everything within my power to improve it. I am attempting to follow all the standard strategies, but it feels like trying to herd cats. The catalyst for the current situation, since my physical and mental health began declining, swinging took a backseat. My menstrual cycle became highly unpredictable, making it difficult to plan activities, and I gained 12 kilograms almost overnight despite not changing my eating or exercise habits. I did not feel in the right mindset to participate in the lifestyle, so we transitioned from active participants to sporadic involvement and eventually to no participation at all. I decided to put swinging on hold until I felt capable of regaining control over myself. During this time, I communicated my thoughts and feelings to my husband. He primarily supported me through this. However, the more we distanced ourselves from the lifestyle, the more I felt he withdrew from me. He stated that, toward the end, I sent mixed signals through some of my actions. I think I was torn between trying to fulfill his desires while also not pushing my boundaries. It all came to a head at the end of last year when we had another significant conversation in which I reiterated that I needed him to be vulnerable with me, to lower his walls, and let me in. I asked him to trust me, explaining that I did not feel as connected with him. He responded by asking what would happen if I did not like who he was with his walls down or if I did not like what he had to say or do. I essentially replied, "Trust me and try me, because what is happening now is not working." After that conversation, I noticed a positive change in him and in our relationship. I could see that he was genuinely trying, and I was pleased with what I was witnessing. It truly felt like, for the first time in 20 years, he was allowing me in. There were a few hiccups when he would be open about certain aspects but then attempt to minimize them, later contradicting himself when he referenced the same story again. I attributed this to his challenges with vulnerability. Our sex life also improved significantly. Then, in December, we traveled out of state for work and stayed in paid accommodations, which felt like a mini holiday. At the beginning of this trip, we experienced some of the best sexual moments we had shared in a long time, and I was feeling very positive about him and our relationship. During dinner one night, we discussed fantasies, and I inquired about some of his that I might not know. He said his only real fantasy was the swinging lifestyle. I reiterated that I still was not in the right mindset for it at that particular time but likely would be in the future, although I could not provide him with a specific timeline. I also mentioned that I did not feel our relationship was completely solid, which made it challenging for me to consider external adventures, but I sensed that things were improving significantly between us. I then asked him how he would feel if we never swung again. and he replied that he would be very disappointed and let down because it is something he truly loves, enjoying the novelty and variety of engaging with numerous different people and trying different things. I completely understand his point of view, given his attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and dopamine-seeking behavior. However, this triggered me significantly due to my own childhood experiences, where I perceived messages that conveyed, "You are not enough for me." I conveyed this to him, and he backtracked but ended up digging himself into a deeper hole. The conversation devolved from that point until he expressed that he no longer had the emotional capacity to continue the conversation and suggested we revisit it another time. I agreed. We have an agreement that the responsibility falls on the person who pauses the conversation to bring it back up. Time continued to pass, life became hectic, but I felt that things were relatively good between us. He was making an effort, and so was I. We were not perfect, but things were not bad either. One night, a friend called me for a chat while my husband was doing something within earshot, able to hear my side of the conversation. I mentioned to my friend that things between my husband and me had been good lately, as my friend was aware, with my husband's consent, that we had experienced some challenges in the past. The phone call ended. A week or so later, following another conversation, I was completely blindsided when my husband told me that things between us were not fine. He asserted that I had misled my friend by stating that we were good. I like to believe that I generally have a good understanding of the state of our relationship and how my husband is feeling, but he caught me completely off guard. We finally resumed our conversation from 3 months earlier. I inquired about the time taken, and he explained that he had not been in the right mindset to bring it up until now. His interpretation was that he completely misunderstood me or misremembered our previous discussion, believing that I had removed swinging from the table permanently and was unwilling to participate ever again. This revelation had devastated him at that time. He informed me that he had deleted all the swinging applications, could no longer watch pornography related to swinging, or engage in any swinging discussions, as it was just too painful for him now that he thought it was no longer an option. This strong adverse reaction surprised me. I knew swinging was essential to him, but I suppose I did not appreciate just how important it was. For your information, the other day, while we were driving to work, CarPlay automatically started playing a podcast he had been listening to, which happened to be related to swinging. He promptly switched it to music, which he typically never listens to during our commute, and I suspect he thought I did not notice this and was attempting to conceal it. Therefore, I am uncertain if his declaration that I had ruined swinging for him was a form of manipulative behavior to make me feel guilty or something else. We discussed a few other topics during that conversation, and when we concluded, we asked each other if either of us had anything else to say or discuss and if we felt the matter was resolved. I expressed that I did not feel it was resolved, but I had nothing further to contribute, so we left it at that. I struggled to articulate my emotions and how I feel, so I recognized that I felt uneasy but did not understand why. I had not identified that yet. During a conversation long ago, my husband mentioned that one of his biggest fears in life is missing out on experiences or not getting what he desires, asserting that when he does not get what he wants, he may feel resentful, as he has in the past. Since he shared this with me, I have done everything within reason and my power to provide him with what he desires. However, to feel comfortable participating actively in the lifestyle, I need to feel that our relationship is solid beforehand. I require 100% connection with him and a sense that things are good. This perspective is entirely different for him. He believes that participating creates connection and togetherness, which is the opposite of how I feel. This has become a point of contention between us. Moreover, I have expressed that I feel I only receive his best self when we are actively involved in the lifestyle, and not when we take a step back from it. He has acknowledged this truth, leading me to feel it is now being used against me. Despite having no intention of doing so, I realized several days after the blindsiding conversation that if I genuinely take swinging off the table, he will resent me for it, if he does not already. The frustrating aspect is that just before Christmas, I was feeling quite optimistic and intended to suggest going to a club, as we would not have another opportunity for a while, but he was irritable and stressed, so I refrained from making the suggestion. In retrospect, I can see that, over the past few months, he has been withdrawing from me again and reinforcing those walls. I feel as though I am leaving out much other contextual information, but this post is already long enough, for which I apologize, as I know I have difficulty being succinct. However, if you need more details or information, I'm happy to provide it. I do not even know what I am asking for, perhaps I just need to vent. All I know is that after our most recent conversation, something within me broke, and I do not know how to repair it. My desire for him has vanished. In fact, my libido has decreased, I have barely even engaged in self-pleasure, and my sex drive used to surpass his. I feel emotionally numb, but not in the depressed sense. I have completely disconnected from him and put up my walls, as I have been hurt, and I am uncertain if I have the emotional capacity to handle it. Nevertheless, I want to fix it. I want to repair our relationship, but I do not know how. I told him that our issues are beyond my capacity to address. This is why I am here. What are some potential ways we might be able to reach a compromise where both of our needs are met? How can we rebuild our connection and dismantle the walls? How can I help alleviate the deep-seated shame my husband has surrounding sex? Summary: my husband and I have differing views on core components of our relationship, and I now feel disconnected from him. I am seeking ways to reach a compromise and help rebuild our connection again. Story 2. After 8 months with my artistic and lovely girlfriend, 25F, I face a shocking challenge. I almost never feel horny, she confesses, while I'm left guessing her specific foreplay needs. My desire for excitement clashes with her limits. Can our love survive this dry spell? I have been in a relationship for 8 months with a partner who is 25 years old, whom I appreciate and love. She is kind, artistic, supportive, intelligent, and very pretty. Overall, it is going quite well. Unfortunately, there are some aspects of the relationship that make me hesitant. Sexual intimacy is the primary concern I feel is significant right now, which is why I am writing about it. The broader context is that she has a very low libido. It is not as grave a situation as some people might describe in similar posts, because she will occasionally initiate sex, but there is a considerable imbalance. She has informed me that she is almost never truly aroused in her daily life. Part of this relates to the medication she is required to take, so I completely understand, and when we do engage in sexual activity, 80% of the time, it is me initiating. There are very specific ways in which things need to occur. She has particular foreplay requirements that necessitate being touched in a specific manner. I am completely open to a significant amount of foreplay, but we continuously find ourselves not syncing together, no matter how hard I attempt to connect with her. I must stroke her in precisely the right position and at the exact speed, otherwise, she stops enjoying the experience. I will kiss her nipples, but I must be cautious not to put too much weight on her by unintentionally resting my head on her chest. Sometimes I move to nipple stimulation too quickly, and she asks me to wait. Other times, I take too long to do it, and she expresses mild disappointment that I do not know what she prefers. I was advised to stay close to her and touch her, but I cannot spoon her too closely or move my hips because that turns her off. 9 out of 10 times we have sexual encounters, she brings up something afterward that I did not execute correctly or that she would like to be done differently. I want to clarify that she is being reasonable by requesting things that work for her, but I cannot help feeling somewhat frustrated and unfulfilled because I am not genuinely enjoying the experience, and I now feel additional pressure to make it successful. I am absolutely not neglecting her, I genuinely make an effort, but it is rare that I do not receive feedback about something afterward. She also struggles with depression, which definitely contributes to her low libido, and occasionally becomes unexpectedly emotional and cries after what I had believed was normal and mutually enjoyable sexual activity that she actively engaged in or initiated. This is, of course, concerning, and I do my best to support and comfort her. She assures me it has nothing to do with me, and it does not happen frequently, but it adds another layer to everything. She is in therapy, and her mental health is more significant than my satisfaction with sex, so I am not really considering this in relation to my issues, even if it does not feel good for either of us when it occurs. I understand that much of this is likely related to medication and depression, but it is not something she can discontinue, so it is what it is. It feels harsh to write this out, but this is undoubtedly the most lukewarm I have felt about sexual intimacy in any relationship. In addition to this, I can tell we have fundamental differences in how we perceive sex. I am quite interested in kink, and while she appreciates some of those elements in theory, in practice, it is evident that it does not work for her. I have not pressured her, but I do feel unfulfilled in that regard. Like, for better or worse, that is a significant part of my sexuality, and I cannot help but miss it and fantasize about it. So, not only am I compromising by sticking to conventional sexual practices, which is fine, but the conventional sex is also occurring in a manner that does not make me feel good overall. She has mentioned previously that, in a long-term relationship, the excitement and novelty of sex tend to diminish and be replaced by comfort. There is some truth to this, and I do not think she is entirely wrong, but it simply does not align with my personal perspective on sex. I seek comfort from other facets of a relationship, such as physical closeness when we are together, doing nice things for each other, offering words of support, and other acts of care. However, sex is something I would at least try to maintain with a sense of excitement and novelty. I felt a sinking sensation when I heard that. To be honest, I prefer sex to be enjoyable, and I believe that is reasonable. Right now, due to what I described in the previous paragraph, sexual intimacy is neither comforting nor exciting. Furthermore, these issues tend not to improve over time. I feel some anxiety regarding the prospect of a life with her, as it would mean sacrificing a significant amount of enjoyment from a major aspect of being in a relationship. Perhaps I am just venting, but I would appreciate some perspective on whether I am being unreasonable for feeling frustrated and saddened by this situation. If you were in a similar circumstance, how did you navigate it? Thank you. In summary, my girlfriend has a very low libido and very specific needs regarding foreplay, which I have been struggling to align with, leaving me feeling indifferent about sex, along with a significantly lower interest in kink than I have. What should I do?